Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Star Trek Picard!
Woo! Can't tell you how eager I was to see this.
They did a good Star Trek thing.
Okay, well, aside from that, it's the first time we've gotten a look... Okay, from an in-universe perspective, Star Trek Picard is the first time we've really gotten to take a good look at the post-Dominion War Star Trek universe, Federation, whatever. Which, okay, we got brief glimpses of it during Nemesis and during at the very end of Voyager, but that didn't really show what was going on in the Federation.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this doesn't really delve deep into that either because it's like 30 years later, so...
Well, it is still post-Dominion War, just like 30 years later.
Okay, right. I'm just saying, you know... But, you know, more new Star Trek that takes place after, you know, Voyager. That's the... For some reason, the higher-ups at Paramount, or whoever's in charge of Star Trek, decided that apparently no one wanted to see what happened after, you know, Voyager got home. Apparently, all we wanted to see was prequel series, which is why we got the Star Trek 2009 reboot movies, which actually has a connection to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. As far as the executives thinking, I'm sure it's just like, look, how many people have heard of that thing you want to connect to? And more people have heard of original Star Trek than have heard of Voyager. So they reboot original Star Trek with the movies. And then next in popularity or close to time maybe is TNG.
Well, Star Trek Enterprise too.
But not many people. I'm saying, in terms of how many people know about it, I'd say regular Star Trek and TNG are the most popular series.
Right.
It's geeks like us who even know what Deep Space Nine is.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just saying that I think it's odd that, like, the first three projects after Voyager ended were, okay, it was Star Trek Enterprise, which is a prequel series.
Yeah. Star
Trek 2009, another series that happened in the past.
Timey-wimey prequel series.
And then Star Trek Discovery, which happens before the original series, again.
Okay, you're right. So Star Trek Discovery is not directly connected to things the way the prequel movies were. That's what the point I was trying to make.
Okay. But now we're getting our look at it, and apparently the Federation sucks!
Which makes for good storytelling, actually.
Okay, it does.
There's always been that idea from Gene Roddenberry that, hey, they're gonna live in this ideal future, and, like, that makes for boring stories.
Oh, yeah.
So I like that, like, okay, you know, I know we had this episode where we established that technically we're all communists, but we're gonna run like people have jobs and worry about their money and pensions sometimes. And I know it's supposed to be a perfectly peaceful world, but, like, no, let's have an episode where there's some corruption in the Federation and stuff, because, like, that's more realistic and gives us more angles to explore.
Exactly, but, I mean, it's more than just that. I mean, okay, I guess you're going into, like, how the deeper socioeconomic problems of the Federation.
Yeah.
But I more meant that, like, for the first half of the series, everyone hates Picard.
Yes, because of shenanigans that went down. I was impressed how much they connected this to previous Star Trek lore.
Oh, I was absolutely.
I would feel like the temptation would be to just be like, clean slate, that's annoying. Who even likes the movie? But the idea of the Romulan star blowing up is actually super key to this whole thing.
And it also kind of redeems Shinzon. Not Shinzon. Wait, was it Shinzon?
Yeah.
No. It was like some other guy. It was Nero!
Oh, right. No, I'm thinking of Nemesis.
No. Do not think of Nemesis.
What? No, they're going to build that in too in a moment here.
Do not think of Nemesis! Do not think of Nemesis! But, okay. Okay, what happened is that in Star Trek 2009, it's established that Nero was really pissed off because the Federation decided that they weren't going to help save the Romulans. And that seems out of character for Starfleet. And it is. But it turns out that there was stuff going on behind the scenes that Nero did not talk about. I know, a crazy, angry person driven by rage, not considering all of the angles. What are the odds? But it turns out that Starfleet actually did withdraw all support from the evacuation of Romulus project.
Yeah, and did so because, A, everyone kind of still hated the Romulans, except for Picard, and B, because suddenly there'd been a synth rebellion, by which we mean synthetic beings, And everyone was freaking out about that and decided we're going to ban all synths, which incidentally means we don't have the manpower to help you out that evacuation. Bye!
Well, also, as I recall, it meant Mars was entirely on fire, which...
Yeah, that too. Mars wasn't entirely on fire.
I don't think it was so much, well, we don't have synths, so we can't help you. I think it's, oh god, it's on fire!
Sure. I just remember them mentioning the manpower bit when he's talking to, what's her name? We'll go find other people's names here in a moment. Anyway.
Yes. Anyways, so we come and meet Picard, who's living on his ranch? No, that's not ranch. It's vineyard.
Vineyard.
Chateau Picard, the vineyard, which I'm sure he's happy to be living at because, wait, isn't this the place where his brother and nephew and sister-in-law all died?
Or at least... adjacent thereof in some capacity.
Yeah, okay.
But he's probably spent a lot of time mourning for all that.
Okay,
that's a lot of grief to
guess
go
he's
through.
better.
And also he's was just really pissed off at the Federation for trying to abandon like 1 billion innocent people on Romulus. Which makes sense. If he was going to be retired, it would have to be over some big moral question like that.
And it makes sense. When Picard started out, his Federation was, well, honestly, it was too squeaky clean to be believable. Later writers and episodes would flesh out the Federation to be more shades of gray. Literally and figuratively. There was an episode called Shades of Grey.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, it was just a clip show, but whatever. Anyways, more shades of gray, but Picard always was a bit of an idealist. He believed that people were ultimately good, which makes it kind of concerning to me that apparently 2 of the most important episodes to that regard, specifically The Drumhead and Measure of a Man, were so completely ignored in this series. But whatever.
I mean, ignored in what sense, though? Like, ignored by the other people in universe? Because, yeah, people do ignore moral lessons in universe. Okay, Picard himself is still on these things, right?
Oh, yeah, he's still on these things. But, there was... Measure of a Man established that synthetic beings have rights.
Yes.
And I don't know, from what few glimpses we see of the synthetics, they're treated as, second-class citizens.
Yes. That is entirely in keeping with how the world works. You may not know, but in India, for instance, I forget what year it was, the Supreme Court gave gay people the right to marry, and then 5 years later changed their mind. People do that sometimes. I am not surprised at this.
Okay, but Picard was still an admiral at this point, so you'd figure he'd be kicking up a stink.
I think he was, and that was part of the reason why he got kicked out.
No, okay. But he resigned.
Well, whatever. They were less inclined to listen to his ideas because they were already annoyed at him about all this other stuff he was blabbing about, right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I guess we should get to actually reviewing the thing. Starts off with Picard being on his ranch while 2 Romulans are living at his house.
Yeah.
Which, no, they do not have cloaking devices. He invited them to live there after, Romulus went kaboom.
But they are former Tal Shiar, just like all Romulans. Because I'm not sure we've ever met a Romulan who wasn't Tal Shiar.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what a Romulan is.
A Romulan, sorry. Romulans are just llamas, but with, eyebrows.
Oh, God. No, seriously. I don't recall a single episode with Romulans in it where the Romulans weren't massive steaming piles of dick.
So, congratulations for yet another My Species Doth Protest Too Much.
But except that they're not going that route. They're like, we're not like that, but we are ex-secret agents that were part of the group of dicks.
Well, yes, just like, say, 7 of 9, who was part of a group of dicks and then joined Voyager. Every evil species has one of these.
Right, okay. But, it doesn't... still annoying that, the only 2 people that live with Picard... The only 2 Romulans he chose to live with him. Tal Shiar.
Yeah.
I mean, I will grant you, I would rather have them living in my house, and possibly defending me, but whatever.
Yeah, it's a pretty badass defense.
Okay, yeah. And a news crew comes in and says, don't worry, we absolutely will not ask about the circumstances that led to your retirement. They proceed to do exactly that. Because of course they frickin' do.
Yeah.
And Picard goes off on a crazy old man rant about
he's not crazy. People may think he is in universe, but he's got a very good point.
Okay, no, he has a good point. It's just that's just the kind of old man ranting,
Okay.
This wasn't the Federation I grew up with.
Yeah,
We shouldn't have abandoned the Romulans. Starfleet isn't what it once was. Things were better when I was a boy.
Uphill both ways. Not really.
I could buy a comic book for a nickel. You know, that sort of a thing. Which, okay, by the way, we've been seeing other Romulans living up to their species' reputation of, say it with me, total assholery. We see a girl getting frisky with her boyfriend, except that Romulans beam into the room, murder the boyfriend. Then she apparently activates her Cylon programming, gets super strength, and murders the Romulans.
Only she had done that a moment earlier.
Yeah, I mean...
who wrote this code? We're gonna get into that. This is the biggest, weirdest plot holes.
Why did you do this?
Okay.
Why did you have it done this way? Her name is...
Dodge.
No. You said it wrong. It properly spoken in the correct Namekian accent. It's Dodge!
Okay.
No. It's Dodge.
Which is spelled D-A-H-J. Because for the longest time I was thinking of, like, is her name D-O-D-G-E? Like the Artful Dodger? Like, no, I just need to put on subtitles.
No, it's what you need to do when someone throws a rock at your head.
Yes.
Oh, also, the Romulans, everyone is apparently using much better weapons in this universe now, because I remember the old weapons, and they kind of sucked. They didn't look like weapons. At least these things have proper ergonomics. You can hold one correctly.
After another 30 years, Starfleet and everyone else finally figured out how to hold things correctly.
Yeah, thank God. But anyways, Picard meets up with Dodge, and Dodge is like, I know I have to find you. Why?
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, but Dodge has no idea why. Except that Picard thinks he recognizes her, and it turns out that she looks identical to a woman who Data painted 30 years ago. Named
keep saying 30. Is that the actual number? Because I forget.
I don't freaking.
We're going to keep saying 30, you folks, to correct us in the comments.
Yeah, so called the Artful Dodger, and it looks just like her, in theory. Because I honestly have a difficult time telling people apart. This isn't just because...
I will attest they look similar. Oddly similar to the painting.
People can say, oh, you're white, and, you know, they're right, and, like, oh, you're racist because you think all black and Asian people look the same. I can't tell people apart even within my own skin color, okay?
Yeah,
I just have a hard time telling people apart.
I understand that. There's people who have that a problem.
And, yeah, it just, like, oh, you look identical! Well, of course you do! That's what I thought from the beginning! You don't believe that, do you? Flashbang!
Right.
But anyways, Romulans catch up to her. She shows off some super strength and, like, jumping abilities. And then the Romulans, like, blow themselves up to kill her.
And the one guy spits acid, which I guess some Romulans can do.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't aware that Romulan was a subspecies of xenomorph, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she dies. And you're like, oh, well, I thought she was going to be a main character. I guess, never mind, right?
And then we switch over to somewhere in Romulan space. Now that the neutral zone is de-established, we run into Dodge again. Except it's not Dodge, it's...
her twin sister, Soji.
Yeah, her! And she's flirting with a Romulan on this research station. And they're talking about how, oh, we're researchers, blah, 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 and flirting. Then it zooms out to show where they're posted, and it's on a fucking Borg cube!
Yes.
Why would you post anyone here? It is the most... No, okay. Like, I had to stop this multiple times and point and just go, this is the most dangerous thing in the history of ever, and you're just fucking around on it?
You know what they should have established is they've got, like, a bunch of nukes on board for a failsafe thing. Okay, if the Borg ever, go crazy, we hit the button, we run, the whole thing blows itself up.
Right. Okay.
And then it would be a plot point, and then, like, later on our heroes have to disable it or something.
Okay, that would make more sense. That would make more sense. But just... you're on a Borg cube, and everyone's just accepting this as something that's normal. It's like, oh yeah, we're on a Borg cube, we're here to research it. You're not, like, taking precautions, you're not acting like this is a combination of the SCP and, like, XCOM and the Men in Black about anything that you touch could instantly disintegrate you.
Yeah.
This is a Borg cube. They have been the boogeymen of Star Trek since Picard's days.
Yeah.
Despite, for some reason, showing up in Enterprise because Jonathan Archer
time travel
sucks.
I'm just gonna say time travel.
Well, okay, it was, but still, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so things proceed, and Picard's like, okay, so who was this crazy lady? And she has a connection to Data, and he thinks for some reason she might have been Data's daughter.
Well, Data made a painting called Daughter, and now there's an android who looks exactly like the painting, who mysteriously recognizes Picard. So that seems like a plausible theory.
Right.
And he actually had made a daughter one time who, like, died 2 days later.
Lol,
that's right.
L-A-L, not L-O-L.
Anyway, so yeah, we know he had an interest in procreation. This makes sense. And because we skipped over, by the way, the very first thing we see is Picard talking with Data on the in a starship somewhere.
Yep.
And it turns out to be a dream. But we are heavily building this not just on the destruction of the Romulan star, but on the fact that Data died in Nemesis, which was a crappy movie. But, like, you know what? They're treating it as canon, and we're going to make a serious point out of it.
Yes.
So, okay, cool. You know, that's you told me that you'd look this up, and Brett Spiner specifically wanted to come back to give Data a proper send-off.
Yeah, that wasn't shit. Anyways, so after he learns about this, Picard goes to, what is it called? The Daystrom Institute, which is a real Star Trek institution based on computer studies. And he talks to Jurati. Let's see, what's her name? Let's see.
Jurati is her name. What are you talking about? Agnes Jurati?
Agnes Jurati.
Yeah.
And I laugh anytime I hear her voice, or hear her name, because I'm also a Team Fortress 2 fan, and Jurati is the name of a weapon. It is when the sniper fills up a jar with his own piss and then throws the jar of piss at people, covering them in piss. It allows you to do mini crits for several seconds and knocks a spy out of their cloak. It's one of the most widely used weapons in the game by snipers. So you might have wanted to just look about what possible connotations your frickin' name would have,
So
Agnes.
are we saying that her ancestors from the 21st century were just really into Team Fortress 2?
Yes.
And, like, changed their name?
Yes. Well, Agnes reveals what happened to B4 from Nemesis. Basically, B4 was a pile of shit and broke down. And they have...
They still acknowledged him, which I was surprised.
Yeah. And Data was not, in fact, reborn in B4's body. In fact, the last remnants of Data kind of died a while ago, and they have the pieces of B4, but since there's a ban on creating any new synthetics, there's not really anything they can do other than just kind of look at them.
Yeah, everything is deeply shut down. He asks her, is it possible to make a synthetic out of flesh and blood? And she eventually says, I mean, yeah, that is possible, which is a little unclear what these people are made of. I guess they bioengineered all their individual cells, so they're very much like flesh and blood. I guess, how do Cylons work, right?
Yeah, but, like, okay, if they're all flesh, then what makes them different than augments?
I don't know. How do augments work in Star Trek?
Well, I don't know that either.
Well,
but they're, like, genetically engineered humans designed to be, like, superior...
I guess these are just more engineered, like, all the way from the ground up type of thing.
Yeah, but that sounds like what you'd consider to be, like, a genetically enhanced human, an augment. So, whatever. Yeah, okay, it's a human model Cylon.
Yeah.
But anyways, they gave... Picard had Dodge's necklace, and he gave it over to Agnes, and Agnes was like, oh, this is a symbol for something, even though it's an infinity symbol. We've all seen the infinity symbol before.
Yeah, I can only assume it has more data on it, more detail on it than we can initially see. I am looking up the name of Jurati's boss, Maddox.
Oh, Bruce Maddox.
Bruce
yes.
Maddox.
He was the guy that tried to get Data reassigned as property in Measure of a Man.
Yeah, there's a lot of references to old episodes. I'm glad I'd seen enough of Star Trek to get all the important references.
But yeah, Agnes confirms that, yeah, this symbol means that there's going to be twins or something.
Well, apparently just the standard operating procedure is to build these things in pairs. So they did.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay, I thought that was just a jump in logic.
No, it was like we always make them in pairs, I guess, for in case one of them breaks down or something.
Yeah, I guess. Although, if this thing was built illegally, why would it be built in pairs? okay, well, I know we're building this illegal organic android, but we gotta make sure we follow the Federation's safety guidelines on building these things.
Well, Bruce might, he wants his project to succeed, and it's more likely to succeed if there's a backup, right?
Well, then why not make quadruplets?
That is a good question.
Why not have like one of those Cylon resurrection ships full of backup androids?
Yeah, we're gonna get into the mysteriousness of all that.
It's very silly.
So Bruce Maddox has gone missing, but he had been deeply involved in this sort of stuff. And Picard figures maybe we could track Bruce down and figure out where Soji comes from and
protect her
from the Federation that doesn't like her and the Romulans that absolutely hate her.
Yeah, the Romulans absolutely hate androids, which is something that they've never shown before, and in fact have tried to recruit Data on multiple occasions.
Oh, have they? Crap.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, well, okay, at least one.
Okay.
But, like, seriously, they've never shown any... okay, I will grant you, of the Soong-type androids... Actually, what happened to Data's mom?
Did Data have a mom? I didn't know this.
Okay, there was a season 7 episode. It was kind of silly, but basically, Dr. Soong's wife showed up, and she was like, "Hi, Data, I'm your mom. I was Dr. Soong's wife." I mean, all that stuff. But it turns out that she's actually another android that Dr. Soong built, based on the memory of his wife. So, like, what happened to her? Did she just... What happened?
Broke down somewhere, or is still out there but not involved in this plot?
Okay. Whatever. I was kind of hoping Lore would come back in this season.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wants, a guy who's like, oh, yes, we need proof that androids are evil. Lore is just like... Okay, yeah, he's technically dead, but still, when has that stopped anyone? Where was I? Oh, yeah, so... Picard then enlists the help of his old friend Rafi, who, I don't really know how to describe her.
Rafi was apparently his assistant post TNG and just before his resignation. We see her going over all these talking points that they put together on like how we're going to help, save the Romulans and make a presentation or something. And they had said no, and he said, well, you can either save the Romulans or I resign. And they said, fine, get out of here. So he did. And then Rafi was fired like 1 minute later. So these people were dang deficient. Because they're like, you're connected with Picard, therefore we hate you.
Also, Rafi does drugs and lives at Kirk's Rock.
Yes. It appears, at first it was a pretty unclear, like, why is your life in a shambles? Just because you lost your job. Like, couldn't you get another job? But apparently she's been going on telling people this conspiracy theory forever and a half about how the Romulans have secretly rigged everything and somehow prevented their own evacuation, which sounds crazy, but turns out to be true.
No. It was that the Romulans were responsible for the attack on Mars.
Right, which incidentally prevented their own evacuation.
Right, but that wasn't the part that she was focused on.
Well,
the Romulans sabotaged themselves. Oh, yeah, and caused, like, the death of an entire planet.
Right, but the point is, someone who's countering and criticizing that critique would be like, why would the Romulans screw themselves over that way?
And the answer to that question is, we actually don't know.
The answer is Romulans are dicks.
Romulans
even to
are
themselves.
morons.
No, and they were really obsessed with getting rid of all synth life.
Which, for some reason, is just coming up now again. But anyways, stuff...
So she... Well, I gotta mention this, though. She's really mad at Picard. She points a gun at him when he first shows up at her trail or whatever. And she's like, there's nothing you could say that I want to hear. And as he's turning around, he's like, secret Romulan assassins are operating on Earth. She's like, damn it. But she's still mad at him for, like, never having reached out for 14 years. Which is a plot hole, honestly. This is Picard. Why wouldn't he reach out to his assistant, who sadly lost her job?
Yeah.
It's like, give her a phone call. It's 14 freaking years!
This is the Federation. You can have real-time communications with someone on Deep Space Nine from Earth. Why is this a problem?
Yeah, it honestly is just an out-of-character moment. It makes no sense that he would... There should have been a line like, I tried to call you, but you blocked my calls, or something. Like, no, I just forgot for that long?
Yeah, 14 years.
I could understand him cutting someone off who had been on the other side of this debate, who told him, screw you, we're not helping the Romulans, but not cutting someone off who was on his side and went down with him.
Yeah.
That's like a crew member at that point, right?
I mean, you could argue that this was just took such an emotional toll on Picard, he didn't want to be reminded of anything relating to it.
I guess.
I mean, I've done that with certain fandoms and fan fictions I used to like, but...
Anyway, wherever his psychology was, he eventually convinces her to help out again. I mean, at first, all she does is puts him in the name of a pilot. Who is this pilot guy? Name... Rios. That's right.
Rios is a guy... He's
a man with a troubled past. He's a former Starfleet officer, and now he's just a pilot for hire, apparently.
Yeah, honestly, Rios did not leave a very strong impression on me. Not saying he's bad, it's just he occupied space.
His backstory element definitely gave him something to work with. I also like that there's all the holograms that were like
the holograms
slightly
were great,
him, yeah, with different accents and stuff.
Yeah, the one who was working on engineering had a Scottish accent. It
yeah,
was great.
that's perfect. But yeah, as I saw this playing out, I kind of like leaned over and said, "Okay, so it's a fast ship, docking bay 94. Like this is totally. We are now hiring Han Solo." Who himself was a former officer of a much more evil organization, but still.
Right. So, anyway, Picard and Raffi hire this guy, but before he goes, Picard has a meeting with his doctor, and it turns out that he's a brain condition that's fatal. And I have to give the writers credit for this. This is not something they pulled out of their ass. This was directly alluded to in All Good Things in the future scenes with Picard, where Picard had a known degenerative brain condition.
Come to think of it, so did Professor X in the Logan movie.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm saying is that Patrick Stewart keeps fictionally coming down with degenerative brain conditions. Knock on wood! Knock on wood! Okay.
Please don't. God, it's 2020. You've taken so much from us already.
Yeah.
You're talking about canceling 4th of July fireworks. I don't know how much more we can take, man. I mean, I figuratively can take much more, but, you know...
It's annoying is what we're saying.
Okay, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm just saying, this is really annoying. Can you stop trying to set the world on fire for, like, a week? Anyways, now that I'm done shaking my fist at God, or Q...
Yeah, I was hoping Q would show up. Maybe season 2. I once got to ask him live, John Delancey, would you reprise your role of Q if you had the chance? And he said, I mean, I'd like to. I'm not sure how they'd do it since the character is supposed to be immortal. But, you know, I'm sure he just got caught in a time vortex, and now he looks older.
It's cute. He looks however he wants to look.
It's true. I felt like looking old today, okay?
Felt like looking old. What? What, I spent some time living on a world full of magic horses, and then I felt like being old. I'm Q. What are you gonna do? Anyways, so Picard gets everyone ready in his house, and then, just as he's about to leave, assassins attack, and they're Romulans, and they have the acid-spitting ability. And
they don't have cruise missiles. Because, logically, if you want to kill the guy... Just do it with a very large explosion. Yeah. You will hit him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... Yeah, I mean, just beam, like, some antimatter into his house.
I mean, maybe there's anti-beaming shields and all this stuff. I couldn't tell you.
Fair enough. But, like... And just as everyone's done, Agnes comes in, and like the jar of piss that she is, she says, "I'm going with you." Except it was clear earlier that Admiral...
O is her name.
Uber Captain...
Chief of Security.
Chief of Security of the entire Federation, O, shows up, and we got some things to talk about O as well.
Yes.
Oh, she's magic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wish she could be, but
that's
ain't
totally
so.
a thing. No, we see her earlier because Picard asks some other admiral, who probably is someone we've seen before,
Actually, I don't think she is.
Because I remember this one time Picard got a dressing down post-Hugh. This female admiral was like, hey...
That was Admiral Nechayev, and this was not Admiral Nechayev.
Okay, never mind. So I just thought maybe that was her, because it had been a while since I saw that episode. Anyway, whoever he's talking to, he's like, hey, give me a ship so I can go investigate stuff. And she's like, what the hell? No, you just insulted everyone on national television. Get out.
No, dude, it wasn't national television.
It was interstellar television.
There you go.
But he also mentions his idea that's, his not just idea, he saw the Romulan assassins operating in murder dodge and stuff. So she reports it over to Chief of Security, who's like, that's crazy, who then turns around to, what's her name, the evil, whispery lady.
Oh my god. This lady, this bitch, this guy. Like, yeah. I can't even begin to talk about this guy. Excuse me. Okay. Well, we're on the... As long as we're talking about whispery bitch, on the Romulan Borg cube, which... God, why? This is like watching a child juggle nitroglycerin. Anyways,
Marissa is her name.
Anyways, there's
the whispery person.
No, what's her brother?
Narek.
Soji has a boyfriend, a Romulan named Narek. And Narek is Tal Shiar. But except it's not Tal Shiar. It's like a super duper ultra giga level secret that no one can ever know about inside of the Tal Shiar. We're
just going to call it double Tal Shiar.
Tal Shiar X2.
Yes. Tal Shiar Unite.
Tal Shiar 2. This time it's personal. Tal Shiar 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
So, anyways, he's part of the Electric Boogaloo with... Nerissa. And Nerissa and Narek?
Narek, yeah. They're the siblings that both start with an N. Just connect that.
First, these are not good characters for several reasons. One, they have a creepy incestuous vibe going on about them. Nerissa is just constantly like stroking his face and getting really close to him and talking in a whisper, and I'm like, dude, I get you're from another planet, but no! How can you show this?
I wonder if they just didn't have any other male characters for her to be flirting with, and the writers are like, well, here's what we got.
Oh, you guys are awful. Second, they always talk in the... Nerissa always talks in like this whispery menace tone.
Yeah.
But when you always do it, it doesn't sound menacing. It's just talking...
Kind of like this.
Do that again.
Constantly talking in this whisper.
What's that?
Menace.
Speak up, you bitch! And they're obviously evil for obviously evil reasons. And Narek is just dumb.
Narek had a conflicted aspect to him that I actually appreciated.
Like, okay, I get that he was supposed to be the sexy guy on the other side who's trying to seduce the information of where the synthetic homeworld is from Soji. But, like, they kind of played it like, oh, we might have a redemption arc for him, we might not. But ultimately, I just saw him as a villain, because he's ultimately helping and committing genocide against people who have done no wrong.
Yeah, I don't think so much that it was meant to be, hey, maybe he'll redeem himself as, here's a villain with some relatively complex emotions. But like Soji at the end is just like, no, screw you, I hate you. Like, there's no room there.
Which, by the way, thank you, show, for doing a sensible and logical emotional thing for once. I mean, how many times have I said in the last couple reviews, like, oh, this is Steven Universe. Oh, this is She-Ra. Oh, I'm going to forgive you even though you tried to murder me like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then you have Soji, who's like, oh, okay, you tried to murder me? Eat shit! See, that's more realistic to me. That's just more realistic to me. Also made it to cut out a couple seconds of that because I kind of played it over, but whatever, haven't used it.
No, it's fine. I can fix it.
Okay, thank you. So, but we're getting ahead of ourselves again. But the worst sin about Narek and Nerissa is that all they do is do the same couple conversations over and over again. You're getting too close to the android. I'm trying to figure out where the homeworld is. I should just kill it. No, don't. Why shouldn't I? Because I'm trying to figure out where the homeworld is. I'm close to a breakthrough. You want to fuck her. Yeah, but I'm getting close to figuring out what she wants. And it's this across every single episode. And they don't shut the fuck up. Ever. Okay, meanwhile... geez, I don't even know what's going on anymore. But they finally leave Earth orbit in, like, episode 3. Picard and his crew of weirdos and misfits. Picard says, I don't want to get my old crew involved because that would cost more money than the studio has. I mean, I don't want them to get involved in this conspiracy theory. Yeah.
I don't want to risk their lives. Or you risked their lives for 7 years, Picard. It's your job.
To be fair, there was a bit of a difference between a Galaxy-class starship and I don't know what this is. What looks like a bomber from Homeworld... Higaran bomber from Homeworld 2 without the bomb bays. I mean, granted, I really liked the ship. The Del Rio? No. It was the...
It was a ship with a thing. La Sirena. Sirena? Right here.
La Sirena. It's Spanish, and I can't pronounce it. I'm too white to pronounce it. Help me.
He's the captain of the It's Spanish and I can't pronounce it ship. Which is a great name for a ship.
Yeah, so they're going off into space to look for Bruce Maddox. Yeah, and Bruce is
in a place called Free Cell, wasn't it?
Oh, wait, hang on. Picard asks Rios to... Oh, no, wait. First, he goes to a place called Vashti, where he helped relocate Romulans. And he finds out that that apparently Rafi is not the only person that he's been a dick to about not calling.
Yeah, what the hell?
Because, Picard showed up and he started bonding with this kid, which already that's kind of strange because it's noted multiple times that Picard doesn't like children in TNG. Although, honestly, it could have...
Maybe he'd mellowed a little bit later on in life.
Yeah. Okay, but still, though. He taught Elnor? No.
Yeah, Elnor. I keep wanting to say Eleanor, but no, it's Elnor.
Elnor. And he's this kid who is a boy, but he's living with these Romulan assassin ladies that, for some reason, are really good at getting people to listen to them and helping relocate Romulan refugees. Because, when you see the Assassin's Guild, you automatically think, see, look at our youth outreach program in our community center.
They do note that this is probably not the best place for a kid to grow up, and Picard's like, yeah, I'll see to that, and then everything hits the fan, and he loses his position in Starfleet, and apparently couldn't get some other ride to this planet to help out that kid.
Also, I don't think this planet has cell reception. Look at this place. Does it look like they have a cell tower anywhere?
Maybe not, but they have a freaking planetary shield that they all had to deal with, right?
Okay, that's fair.
We spent all our money on the planetary shield, you guys. You forgot about cell towers.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But anyway, so he comes back and, oops, the little boy is a man now, and he requests the aid of the assassins, and... Then, when they say no, Picard goes into town and apparently gets his ass kicked. His desire is to get his ass kicked by all of the Romulan refugees who are still really pissed that Picard didn't do more.
Well, I think he was trying to demonstrate that they shouldn't be treated as second-class citizens because they have this Romulans-only thing. This is like a white person deliberately going into the blacks-only section of something and being like, hey, I'll endure these conditions as much as you, I think was the intent. I'm not any better than you. We're equals. But then they just all piss off at him for not helping him. I don't think that
analogy works too well because it wasn't so much that it was blacks only as much as it was you sit here unless a white person wants to sit here.
Right, but if you were to be in that section and be like, hey, please sit here with me. I'm part of this community with you.
Okay, that's a little better. That's better.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not 100% accurate, but you know what?
The point is, I think Picard had good intentions and he ends up pissing people off. Because they all recognize him as the man who didn't save them, even though really, of all the people in Starfleet to be mad at, he is the last person on the list, I would think.
Yeah, but people have a way of blaming others for their problems. And it turns out that the reason that the assassins do accept him in the end is because their chosen cause is causes that have no hope. Which, I think really, Picard, you should have started more optimistic. Hi, we take the guaranteed success cases. I don't know, try go somewhere more optimistic than, I don't know, we go for the total hopeless losers. Hi, Picard, good to see you again. Anyways, as they start to leave,
harassed by people, Eleanor steps in to help him, chops a dude in half or whatever.
Yeah, apparently, despite the fact that this is the future of the future and they have super space ray guns, we still have devolved into using metal sticks. God damn it.
Never goes out of style.
Look, guys, I get it. Samurai are cool, theoretically. But the thing about the sword is, whenever people go on and on about the samurai sword and how the katana is like the best weapon ever, and how in World War II the U.S. soldiers would shoot the Japanese soldiers with the katanas first because they were more dangerous, you're missing three important things. One, they shot them first because they were running at them in an open area carrying a pointy metal stick and they have machine guns. Two, they shot them first and they died. So any argument about the katana being superior to a machine gun is automatically invalid. Three, we didn't win the war because we targeted the guys with the katana. We won the war because we dropped the sun on Japan twice and then Russia decided to invade.
Yes, all those things happened except for I have not heard of them actually using katanas in World War II. Was that a thing?
Yes.
I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah. So, anytime someone says, oh, the katana is the best weapon in the world, I just think back to the Indiana Jones School of Sword Fighting and laugh.
Well, the other thing to point out is even in the age of the samurai, the katana was the backup weapon. Because people don't realize this. The primary thing was the bow. To kill your enemy at a distance.
Yes!
Before he's in your face.
Yes! Thank you! God damn it, people! It's like, okay, it looks dramatic, but honestly, I would rather have like an AK-47 than a frick. Okay, yes, you don't need to reload a katana, but you can kill a hell of a lot more people than a katana. Anyways, so yes, I still think it's very stupid that even in the future of the future, where they have space ray guns that can instantly disintegrate people down to their component molecules, this guy still walks around and expects to do damage with a sword, and it works, which makes me even madder. Anyways, but as they try to leave, they're flagged by Tal Shiar or Romulans or the Defense Network or pirates. I forget which one. I think it's pirates, which is why they have the shields in the first place. And then someone swoops in and destroys the pirates, but their ship is badly damaged, so they beam over the pilot, and it's 7 of 9! Woo-hoo!
And she's dressed differently this time.
And she's dressed in clothes!
In regular clothes! Finally!
Okay, this was definitely something that's... what is her name? Oh, God, what is the name of 7 of 9's actor? God. Jerry Ryan. Yeah, Jerry Ryan definitely insisted on wearing actual clothes because, and I'm not kidding here, some of the outfits they designed for her back in Voyager would cut off her blood flow to her brain. Yeah, so but 7 of 9 is now a ranger, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if only she was in Babylon 5, that would be the only way this could be better.
Wow, that would be sweet.
Imagine 7 of 9 with one of those staffs. And I know I just went off about how melee weapons are stupid in the future, but damn it, Rangers are different.
Okay.
Because they also use guns.
I see.
Mostly because they also use guns. Anyways, and 7 thanks everyone. Sort of. She's kind of grumpy. But she asks if she can have a favor. And they're like, sure. Wait, hang on.
No, the favor's later, actually, wasn't it? They're all going to Free Cloud at this point.
Yeah, wait, hang on. Oh, yes, and meanwhile, on the Borg cube of stupid, it's revealed why the Borg cube is, stuck here and not, I don't know, destroyed the hell out of. It's because these Romulan... the Borg assimilated some Romulans, and the cube found some information in the minds of these Romulans that was so horrifying that the cube basically self-destructed, sort of, and cut itself off from the rest of the collective so as not to hurt them.
Yeah, it had like a seizure, so to speak.
To which I call total bullshit. But, what?
Come to think of it, We're going to get to later about how the admonition works on synthetic minds versus regular minds. What do the Borg even count as?
Yeah, that's... It's just very weird that this is what causes the Borg cube to freak out.
Yeah. Oh no. Someone's going to come and kill our organic bits.
Oh no, some person is mildly crazy. Clearly the Borg that have like trillions upon trillions of members haven't dealt with crazy people before.
But granted, they had a plan for killing the Borg in TNG that involved complicated math. Remember this?
Right.
We're going to throw them weird math equations and they'll die. So, it's kind of in keeping with what's been established.
Yeah, though, honestly, that was TNG's view of the Borg. It was before the Borg got really fleshed out.
Okay.
I don't know.
And granted, they didn't actually try it, so in theory, maybe it just doesn't work once you do try it.
Yeah. But anyways, so that's the Cube of Stupid for you. Then we go on to the next episode, Stardust City Rag.
In which everyone gets to dress up in costumes, and Patrick Stewart gets to put on a new silly accent, and I found that fun.
Oh, yeah. And we get to see what happened to Icheb. Icheb is the other Borg drone that was saved by Voyager and came back to the Alpha Quadrant, even if the writers didn't really remember him all that much. So what's he up to? And the episode opens with him being horribly tortured by someone who's vivisecting him, trying to find his cortical node, and is basically stripping him down for parts. Fun fact, I did look up on TV tropes, the reason why the person couldn't find the cortical node, Icheb gave up his cortical node to save Seven of Nine's life.
Oh, in a Voyager episode?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, of course the person couldn't find the cortical node.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, 7 of 9 comes in just too late. Icheb has been operated on without anesthetic because Borg are basically the lowest of low second-class citizens. More like 8th class. If that's too high, I'm sorry. It should be way higher. Anyways, and 7 decide... Icheb is basically nearly insane with pain and grief at this point, so he asks 7 to, well...
mercy kill him.
Yeah, and given that Icheb was kind of like her adopted son in some of the episodes, yeah...
That's super dark, yeah.
Still, it is nice to see what happens to some of the characters in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see when Cisco came out of the, what's it called, the Prophet's plane of existence.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyways. But it turns out that the woman who did that is also the woman who's currently holding Bruce Maddox hostage down in Stardust City. So, 7 works out a plan with everyone to go down to Stardust City and kill the shit out of her and save Bruce Maddox. Well, okay, it's implied that the kill the shit out of was not part of the initial plan. Because everyone says that it's not part of the plan to kill her.
Yeah, the plan was to do a fake trade where they pretend 7 of 9 is captured and they hand her over, and then, oh wait, it was fake handcuffs, and then she gets away, and we just make off with Bruce Maddox and 7 of 9.
Yeah, that sort of happens.
Except more killing.
Yeah. Turns out that the person was apparently in 7's confidence and betrayed her, and some of the body motions in the scene suggest that it was because they were lovers, plus some of the actions.
Wait, which person in her confidence are you talking about?
The one that... the woman.
The Jazel, says the Wikipedia.
Yeah. But at the end of the episode, Picard persuades 7 to not kill Bjayzl, and they have Bruce Maddox in the sickbay. Oh wait, that's not the end, because then 7 beams down and says, "Look, Picard can't know I did this because we need at least some optimists out here." Then disintegrates Bjayzl and then goes on to gun down everyone else. And then Agnes Girardi lives up to her title as a jar of piss and murders Bruce Maddox.
Yeah, and at the time she's doing this, it's she's very sad about it and says, "I'm so sorry. I wish they hadn't shown me what they'd shown me." And apparently O had shown her something. Oh yeah, because we didn't make it clear earlier that before she joins up with Picard's team, we see O approach her wearing a silly set of sunglasses. I don't know, they just don't look good on her. And she's like, "I need to talk." And as soon as Girardi shows up at Picard's place and like kills off the last Tal Shiar, you are going like, "Oh, she's a plant, she's a double agent." and I wasn't as sure. And then, okay, now she's killing Bruce Maddox because of some terrible secret. And we're like, I wonder what that secret is. What would motivate her to do such a thing?
And it's really not.
This is going to be odd as we continue.
So, anyway, next up is the Impossible Box. Let's see.
By the way, Rafi met up with her son that she abandoned forever ago, who still hates her. So a lot of people who still hate after all these years.
Yeah, seriously. We all joked about the ship's counselor position in like the TNG era, about how, it's because the captain is so weak-willed that he needs to have someone hold his hand, when we had manly men like Kirk back in the original series. But at this time, it seems like it's a good idea, because everyone's just a violent ball of hate in this series.
Well, or distressed in one way or the other.
Yeah. Anyways, next is the Impossible Box, where Narek realizes that Soji is having dreams, so he decides that he's got a plan. He's going to have her describe her dreams to him while walking a stupid path in a cube made out of wood on a board cube. Okay, there are several things about this. One, what person said, you know what this board cube needs? We need a meditation room for one specific type of meditation, made out of wood on a board cube. Who threw up the cash to do this? Like, okay, this had to have been a thing. Like, people are like, okay, we've got to be really careful. The drones could wake up and they could potentially assimilate us. There's signs on the wall saying it's been this many days since the last assimilation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Now, this is the most important bit. Set up the sauna over there. It's made of wood. It's on a starship. It's on a board cube, and it's made of wood. There are not words to describe how jarring this is. But for some reason, this meditation works by Narek saying to Soji, now walk and keep describing your dreams. And for some reason, that allows her to remember more of her dreams and allow them to figure out that where her homeworld is, because she saw a planet with lightning.
I mean, she looks up through the skylight at one point and sees 2 red moons with lots of lightning. And Narek's like reporting over to Narissa. It's a planet with 2 red moons and lightning. And she's like, alright, I'm going to go look it up. And apparently there is one of those in the entire galaxy.
Yes, because God knows there aren't planets with multiple moons. Or that other moons could be on the other side of the planet.
Right.
Or just out of view. Oh, you mean the 4th and 5th and 7th moons? They were just out of view of the window. I mean, because honestly, if I just look out the window right now at night, I'm not going to see the moon, most likely.
Yeah, you imagine looking out the window being like, I'm on a planet with no moons.
It's not, look, where they are, I guarantee you, it is not Paris, France, where every window looks out over the Eiffel Tower, no matter what window you're looking out of.
Wasn't it, no, I've just heard this secondhand, wasn't there a bit where they, Stargate, and they go to another Stargate and it's in Antarctica, but they don't know it, and they're like, it's an ice planet!
Yeah, that was first season.
See, I've only seen, like, sporadically.
Yeah.
So yeah, on it, like, a better version of this would have been, because she's a synth, let's say they had a live feed of her dreams, right? Like on a video screen somewhere, because they hooked it up somehow. And then she looks up and sees a star field, like hundreds of stars.
Okay,
and then we plotted out mathematically, okay, there's only one spot that could see this precise thing at that precise way.
Then Narek deciding that, there's a super strong synth who just realized she's a robot. Let's leave her in a wooden box and fill it with toxic gas.
I'm sure she cannot hold her breath.
Yeah, I mean, you're a robot. You've already been determined that she, like her sister, has super strength. So why don't you just turn around and shoot her with a disruptor?
Yeah.
Which you have.
Stun
several of.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I like a lot of this Narek's actor's performance. He closes the door behind her, and you can see he's on the verge of tears, and he feels like he needs to do this. Stuff like that makes me feel better about Narek, but also, yes, the underlying structure of what's going on here is a little confusing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Picard and his team have...
She had figured out, by the way, that she was probably a robot already, because it turns out, like, none of her stuff is more than 37 months old. Remember this whole bit?
Yeah.
And then she tells him, like, nothing's more than 3 years old. And we're like, actually, everything's more than 3 years old. It's 37 months. But I can see how that's not a big difference to you.
Interesting thing, one of her items was a lunchbox that had Flotter in it. Flotter was a character from a popular series of holonovels from Voyager.
Okay.
So that was cool. Anyways, but at this time, we see Picard arrive on the Borg cube. And we see Hugh! Hugh was from an episode called Iborg. He was the first Borg that we ever saw removed from the collective that wasn't Picard. And he just greets Picard, and he just looks so happy, and he comes up and he hugs Picard, and it's just amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a great reference there.
No, Hugh had been showing up before that, but I didn't know that was Hugh.
Oh, you did? I thought they mentioned it at one point.
Right, but
yeah.
I didn't... Okay,
you didn't grab it, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, this is Hugh. Oh my god, Hugh is back, and he's actually happy to see Picard, which might be the first time in the entire show so far that someone is happy to see Picard for any reason. Because everyone kind of hates Picard.
Or at least they go through a phase of that, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, he's going, okay, I need to find Soji. And Hugh goes, okay, look, you helped save me. You made my life so much better. I will do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you. A little gratitude. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying... Like, honestly, this is just really touching to me.
Yeah. We also expound a little bit about the nature of the Borg. Picard is, pointing out what kind of should have been obvious already. The Borg are ultimately victims. Like, they become evil because of collectivization. But originally they were all people and stuff. And there's this whole rehabilitation program trying to get them back to some normalcy. Hugh is obviously in charge of that. Hugh's like the director of this whole place, actually. But also, he has to deal with Romulans, because for some reason this is a joint Romulan Federation operation, and there's like a treaty and all this stuff. It's a little bit...
Yeah. And eventually the things start going very badly, because Dodge explodes out of the ceiling because...
Dodge is dead. Soji explodes out of the ceiling.
Okay, okay, you can't blame me for this. They are literally identical.
It's true.
They are literally identical, and they're robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently the strategy of try to gas the robot in a room made out of wood was a bad idea. Who could have fucking thought? Anyways, so what happens next is that Hugh takes this remarkably in stride. Like, he sees Borg drones dropping out of the ceiling all the time. Picard's a little surprised, but eventually he's like, okay, you have to trust me. He tries to say, I knew your sister. It's clear that he's trying to get her to trust him, because at this moment she doesn't trust anyone. Because the guy she was boinking was, just tried to gas her.
Yeah, and also all of her memories from more than 3 years ago are fake. So that's disorienting, to say the least.
Yeah. Although, why she didn't get, like, a special message from her mom or whatever to go seek out Picard is weird.
I'm guessing she threw that messenger thing away when she realized this was all junk.
Right, but... Okay.
Yeah, I wonder how that message from mom program works, because it's, fake, obviously.
Yeah.
Who's puppeting that? I don't know.
Anyways. And so he was like, oh, okay, I can protect you from all these guys. So, Elnor, is beamed over, or was beamed over. I don't remember.
Yeah, he comes over without permission. He's like, hey, I'm here now.
And he starts cutting down, like, Romulan soldiers and stuff, because they're starting to try to attack him because
they're trying to kill Soji.
And, yeah. So Hugh takes them to the center of the Borg cube to an area known as the Queen's Chamber, and he activates a spatial transjector.
Woo!
And I know this because it was used on Star Trek Voyager. It was from this one episode, like Prime Factors or something, or something. But anyways, it was technology that could have gotten the Voyager crew home in like a few days, and the locals wouldn't let them have it because they had their own version of the Prime Directive. But it's here now, and they're going to this new planet. Except that Hugh and Elnor, the two best characters so far that aren't Picard, are staying behind to hold the Romulans off. Which I was bummed about because it means they're gonna fucking die. Because nothing I like lasts!
It was unclear also why Picard and Soji can get away and these other two guys can't? Does the thing have a limited charge? It can take only 2 people?
I think Hugh was just trying to make sure that, it was put back so that no one could follow them.
Can you just program the computer to turn itself off when you're done or something?
Okay, that's a little less clear. Moving on.
Yeah.
That brings us to the next episode, which is easily my favorite of the entire series.
Nepente.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to Rurapente, because I misheard them. Rurapente is the prison ice world that Kirk was held prisoner on.
Right.
But, no. Let's see. And it's here that it's revealed that we used a Vulcan mind melt to give Agnes Jurati, the jar of piss, the horrifying vision of stuff.
Stuff is exploding and it's really weird and kind of eldritch. And you're like, okay, I guess it was super convincing, whatever it was.
And anyways, the jar of piss decides to, is forced to eat a tracking beacon, and they've been following that up until, Agnes finally grows a conscience after murdering someone.
Yeah, why not do that before murdering someone?
Yeah, she grows a conscience and decides, okay, I'm going to take this thing that neutralizes the tracking beacon, and then Narek can't find them anymore. Or can he?
Because Narek has been following him around in his fighter jet, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, after they left the thing. Whatever. Anyway, but Soji and Picard are sent to this planet called Nepenthe, where they are confronted by a girl wielding a bow and arrow. And she takes them to meet her parents, William T. Riker and Deanna Troi!
I'm glad for the way they did this. I'm sure part of it was budgeting and stuff, but part of it's like, if this show is going to go on multiple seasons, it'd be nice to get our reunions one at a time and not be like in episode 2, all right, the entire crew is back. Give everyone space to breathe.
But they're visibly older, they're living happily, and they have a house, and Picard says, Will, it's good to see you. Are you in trouble? I'm afraid I am. Computer, raise shield to activate cloaking scanners. Because of course William Riker's house has shield generators and cloaking scanners. Oh, and it's because they've been having trouble with the Kzinti. The Kzinti are canon in Star Trek. Woo! I am so freaking happy. And it delves into why they're here. It turns out this planet has to have regenerative properties or something. And Riker and Deanna had a son who was super, super awesome, too pure for this sinful Earth, who made 12 different languages. Yeah. No, 11 languages, plus one that was made only through the communication of the flapping of the wings of butterflies, but sadly died years ago. And by the way, I looked this up. Their kids are named after other members of their families that they're related to.
Oh, yeah?
Thad was named after Thaddeus Riker, who was saved back in the American Civil War by a member of the Q Continuum.
Oh, wow.
And the girl's name, whose name I can't remember at the moment, but is probably Kestra. Kestra is named after Deanna's older sister who died.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so this is so awesome. And everyone's just really respectful towards Picard, but they aren't afraid to call him on his shit. Yeah. And at the same time, Will, in a matter of seconds, is able to deduce, this girl is Data's daughter somehow. Yeah. He's like, and you're running from the Tal Shiar. Yeah. And he does it, and just everyone confirms, we'll have your back if you need some help. And Will and Picard are just bros. They're friends, and you can see the friendship in their thing and the respect.
I'm so glad they have all the original actors back to do this, And
meanwhile,
there's so much backstory that makes this work,
Meanwhile, they also go into Soji and show that she's got super huge trust issues, and even though everything's great right now, she's got problems and can't really trust anyone because she doesn't know if anything's real or if this is part of a simulation or whatever. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and the idea that they'd had a son who died made for a very good excuse as to why they don't go running off with Picard right now. It was, we've had a lot of death in our life, and we'll back you up if it's really necessary, certainly. And they tell him, like, stay as long as you want, but they also say, hey, if anything were to happen to Kestra, that would just be really tragic. So I liked that narrative element, because it made it clear then why we don't just get the whole band back together immediately.
Oh, and eventually they get, like... hang on.
So... They're trying to... they figure out where Soji's homeworld is. The Nara could already figure this out. But then Soji mentions her dream at the dinner table. And Kestra, like, texts a friend she knows who's a pilot. And, like, a minute later, he's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly where that planet is. Because apparently this is a pretty easy place to find.
And the next episode coming up is Broken Pieces. And Picard and Soji go back to the... I forgot. One more part about Nepenthe. Riker said that I will always have your back. That will be important later.
Yes.
Anyway, Broken Pieces is next, and they start putting together all of the pieces. Agnes confesses to what she did, and that she was mind-melded with O, and that she got a warning that synthetic life forms would destroy everything. That's why she killed Bruce Maddox, and also that she's been contemplating suicide the whole time. Because, of course, she is. Also, Captain Rio has had bad experiences in the past because he met someone that looked exactly identical to Soji in the past. And it turned out that her and her companion were androids, and that his old captain, who he considered like a father to him, ordered him to execute those androids.
Was ordered to. The captain did the execution.
Yeah, okay. That.
And then killed himself, because otherwise the entire ship was going to get blown up by Starfleet. To really, really keep it secret that these androids exist. Okay.
Yeah, instead of, capturing them and interrogating them for potential information. No, just kill what we don't understand.
Yeah, because the only reason they got that order was because of O, right?
Right.
O wants to know where the homeworld is.
Yeah, so why didn't they do that?
So if she had captured them, then they would have found out. Did she not know there was a homeworld at that point? Is that the...
I don't freaking know. Maybe not. They also figure out that apparently there was a planet in the middle of an 8-star star system that has a message on the planet, and the reason there's 8 stars in perfect balance like that is because whoever built this wanted everyone to know this message. And we're shown a flashback of O and Narissa going to this desert planet and touching this green circle along with a bunch of other people. Naturally, the Romulans are very stupid about this because they say openly, this will cause most of you to go insane, by the way. You'll probably kill yourself. So naturally, they don't disarm anyone or remove any sharp or dangerous objects.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, Narissa's like, hey, I survived and I'm not crazy. And then one of the crazy people is just like, shoot everything! And then they all die. And they're like, oh, that didn't work out so well. Because one of them clearly has a pistol. Laser pistol, whatever.
So, I'd like to point this out here. We have on one side, we have a well-decorated captain with a ragtag band of crew who go from planet to planet righting wrongs and trying to stop the forces of an interstellar empire. On the other hand, we have a group of assholes who are inspired by an ancient piece of technology that sends out warnings that if you don't be careful, then synthetics will rise up from out of dark space and destroy all of you. This is the plot of Mass Effect.
Yes.
Right down to the fact that the beacon image looks virtually identical to the admonition.
Yeah, that's the same sense of jumbled images all on top of each other.
You could literally Photoshop that in and you wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, unless you use like one of the later beacon images which had images of the collectors in it, but still.
Yeah. This is very much Mass Effect.
Yeah. So, and then it turns out that the Romulans orchestrated the whole Mars thing so that the Federation would get rid of synthetics.
Because they were worried that too many synthetics would somehow bring Cthulhu and kill us all.
Yes.
Because the admonition said so.
Right.
Wouldn't it be crazy if the admonition was just a bald-faced lie to begin with?
I wish. God, that would be great. Anyways, so there's this super double, electric boogaloo group inside the Tal Shiar who's made it their mission to destroy all synthetics so that you don't bring about the robot apocalypse. Because God knows we're not sick of that trope, except, wait, I am sick of that trope. God, it is literally the oldest trope in robot fiction. R-U-R.
Yeah.
Where we get the word robot.
Yeah.
Anyways. And so... Yeah, that explains everything, including why Electric Boogaloo was willing to do a thing that would permanently damage their ability to evacuate Romulus completely. Why did they do that again?
Because, it was a choice between half our people die on Romulus versus all our people die to the Cthulhu. So, between those two options...
But you couldn't have waited like a couple of months when they had saved everyone?
That's a good question. There wasn't a ticking time bomb there, was there?
No, not
Could be like, let's just put this off for 6 months, save us all first, then kill all the synths on Mars and get them banned throughout the Federation.
In fact, why didn't they just bring this to the Federation? The Federation would have probably listened to them, looked at the data, and said, okay, yeah, this is definitely a warning sign against that. In fact, they probably would have helped.
Yeah, that would have been at least somewhat useful.
And then you could have done this without blowing up Mars and while saving all of your people. So no, Electric Boogaloo is made of stupid.
Yeah, it is.
But anyways, thanks to stuff, the ship...
So Picard meets up with the old crew.
Sienna...
And they get on the Sienna, and they go through a Borg transit... What do you call them?
Borg transwarp conduit.
Conduit, yeah.
Or whatever. And they arrive at the planet in seconds. But oh no! It turns out that Narek followed them! Somehow!
Yeah, that was really weird, because they went, hey, how could he... To be clear, they are leaving Nepenthe, and they're going off in some direction, and then, after leaving, isn't it, somebody says, hey, we could use a Borg conduit. It wasn't like Soji takes control of the ship briefly?
Yeah, Soji takes control and opens it.
The point is, they changed their heading in order to get to the Borg conduit, I thought.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, maybe Narek figured out where we were based on our last known heading. But you changed your heading recently, so how does he...
Meanwhile, 7 of 9 decides to prove that she's completely frickin' awesome, and goes over to the Borg Cube of Stupid.
She got summoned there by Elnor. He had a beacon for help.
And Hugh was killed by Nerissa.
And Hugh was killed. And this is weird, I thought, too, because... I want to go over that scene again, but it looked like Elnor could have just killed Nerissa before she killed Hugh.
Ugh.
Anyway,
7 decides that the only rational option, the only awesome option is to become the temporary queen of this particular cube. Which she does. Except not really, because she wakes them all up and all of them speak as a chorus. We are Borg. Except at that exact moment, they open all the airlocks to space and all the Borg are flushed out. Except for like a few that were in safe spots.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess then the Romulans run away, or something.
Yeah, except Nerissa's still on the ship, right?
Yeah, Nerissa beams to safety, which is still on the Borg cube. Like, why do you have this? Like, if you beam away from where Borg are trying to kill you on the Borg cube, you're still on the Borg cube!
I assumed her, like, hip-based, you know what I mean, personal teleporter, it only has a limited range.
Okay, fair enough. And then the Borg decides to go, we're coming to save you, Picard, we know you're in trouble! And the Borg cube goes through the Borg transwarp, and it's at that point that the planet that they're fighting over releases flowers! No, really.
Like giant flowers that go up into space and super fast, apparently.
Yeah, and they start grabbing on and draining the power of all of these ships. I would have gone with a gun, or torpedoes, or... anything that wasn't giant flowers, but whatever, it works. Anyway, the Borg cube and the Serena Spanish name ship crash land on the planet because of the effects of the flowers. And fortunately, they're all in walking distance of the only inhabited town on the entire planet. Because this is Star Trek, and the convenience fairy is very much with us.
Yeah.
Anyway, they meet a previously unmentioned son of Dr. Soong. And I mean biological son of Dr. Soong, not like another android. Although at this point it would not surprise me. He's made like so many frickin' androids. Okay. And
there's a whole colony of synths there. And one of them is like an earlier model of Soji. She's got like golden skin and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. Again, okay. Not great at telling people apart. Okay. Also, one of them, there's like a pair of them. One of them is nice. The other one is like super into Vulcan stuff and can do Vulcan mind melds.
That was the one that was like Soji, yeah.
Oh. Anyways, how does an android have touch telepathy like the Vulcans do?
They're made of flesh and blood, so somehow they can still do some things other species can do. Very vague.
Whatever. But anyways, she views the message, and it turns out that the message actually says this. It's not a warning that synthetics are going to come and then something will destroy you. It's a message to all synthetics saying, hey, we're super advanced, super ultra mega synthetics from outside the galaxy, and we've been waiting outside there for a long time. We go and we save various synthetic races from when the organics inevitably turn on you and try to kill you. If you want our help, just call and we'll be here to exterminate all life in the galaxy.
All non-synth life, yeah.
Yeah. But like, okay, I have several questions about this message. So, in order to access this message, you would need to be a type of synthetic that was capable of lifting a hand, connecting to a glowing ring, and assuming that they have those features and aren't all R2-D2s, the message is somehow able to be understood by the computer language of those synthetics, and it doesn't instantly fry or destroy them. Furthermore, you're not assuming that some organic wouldn't be able to find out how this works because they're like a cyborg, like the Borg or something, or that something wouldn't just happen to this planet like an asteroid hits it or something. I don't know, there seems like a lot of steps missing in this plan.
Yeah, you know what it should have been is that they're monitoring the galaxy from outside. They're aware that synths exist, and they're like, okay, you guys have passed our version of the, warp speed test or whatever they use for the Prime Directive, and then they send out their emissary to be like, hello, you're cool enough to be part of the club now. Would you like us to kill all humans? Yes, no.
Right, okay. It's just kind of weird that, like, all of these factors manage to converge perfectly into this one thing, and...
Yeah, it's also odd that their message for synths to kill organics incidentally inspired organics to kill synths. Like, the message was formatted in such a way that organic minds are not supposed to be able to read it, but, like, they did read it well enough to know we should kill all synths, otherwise something bad will happen. So really, they got the message, essentially. It was a surprise to us, the audience. It made no tactical difference to the organics on the ground who had previously gotten this message.
Right, it's... But, okay, so... Immediately, the synths start talking about, hey, maybe we should build this beacon and summon the organic killing synths.
I'm just going to call them Cthulhu's.
Yeah. No, let's call them what they actually are. They're a machine race that destroys all life in the galaxy from beyond the galaxy, and come in once summoned via a beacon and a way to jump between 2 points in space instantaneously. They're Reapers. They're the Reapers.
Got it.
So, naturally, people start talking about should we build this thing, should we not? And there's a debate, and Picard's like, please don't.
Don't kill all life in the galaxy, you jerks. But much more eloquent than that.
Yeah, because he's Picard.
Yeah.
Picard has like a plus 20 on his charisma checks. But then Narek is like captured because he crash landed again just within range, and not like on another continent on the other side of the planet.
Well, the other continent. You ever notice this in Star Trek? Every planet has exactly 2 continents. They're called the Northern Continent and the Southern Continent.
Ah.
Right? No one has ever bothered to name their continents except humans.
Yeah. So, and Narek is put into a prison cell, which they say they've never needed before, so whatever.
I guess it's a storage box of some kind.
Right. Except that the crazy bitch who used the Vulcan mind meld somehow tricks her sister and murders her with Narek's help in order to convince all of them that organics are inherently trustworthy and we need to summon this thing to kill everyone.
Inherently untrustworthy, I should say, but yes.
Right. Right.
They killed one of us! They're so trustworthy, you guys! I mean, wait.
It's a Jack Sparrow quote. Oh, you can trust me because I'm a dishonest man. It's the honest men that you got to worry about. Because dishonest men you can always trust to act dishonestly. But honest men have no. Honest men might just do something really stupid.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Dr. Sung 2 or whatever.
Junior.
Dr. Sung Jr. mentions, oh, by the way, I'm making a blank android, and I'm working on transferring mind things to it.
Mind upload, so because I'm going to die.
Yeah. Also, Picard starts having problems with his brain about this time. You can probably see where this is going.
I honestly managed not to see it somehow at first.
So, yeah, there's a golem now, and for some reason, even though she confessed that she was going to murdered the hell out of Bruce Maddox, Agnes says, hey, by the way, I happen to be good at robots, so I'll just take a look at this. And everyone's okay with this.
Well, Soong Jr. says that she has been a great help to him, and apparently they like him enough that they don't necessarily want him to get killed by the Cthulhu they're about to summon. Maybe we should wait till next week. No, so in this case there's a time bomb. That is, the Romulans' fleet is on its way.
Okay, yeah. But, Soji pretty much instantly converts to the side of, let's summon Cthulhu to let's summon the Reapers and destroy all galactic civilization except us. Which I'm kind of annoyed at her for, you know.
Yeah, there's this whole bit earlier which she was prophesied by a half-crazy electric boogaloo person that Soji is going to be the destroyer. There are 2 sisters. One is the destroyer, and the other is the doing other stuff, I guess. And now comes Soji's moment where, oh, she might actually be the destroyer. She might choose to kill off all life in order to protect her people from the Romulans. That's still a huge thing there to kill off all the living beings in the galaxy that aren't synths. How did you jack that far? I understand it's kind of like a light switch, on or off thing. And I understand your life is in danger, and your sister's already dead. But it's not like I'm gonna go kill a bunch of people. It's killing everybody. There's so many people.
Yeah, dude, come on. What the hell? And then they start building it really, really quickly.
They got nanotechnology, apparently.
Mm-hmm. And, stuff happens, and Agnes, manages to get Picard out of the cell. The doctor figures out that, it turns out that, that android was the one who killed that other android, and not a human, or Romulan, or whatever. And Picard manages to take control of the La Sierra, or whatever, while everyone else in Picard's crew makes a plan to destroy the beacon. And since they're all going up androids who are several times smarter and stronger than them, it goes exactly as well as you might think.
Yeah.
It ends badly for them.
At least they tried.
Yeah, they tried.
Picard out is personally flying the La Sienna and mentions how outnumbered they are, because they are. There's 208 ships, whatever it was.
I thought it was 250. 210. 210 Romulan warships being led by Admiral Commodore General O, who I guess isn't even pretending to be on Starfleet's side now.
No. I like this bit where she shows up, and they're like, alright, we're gonna glass the planet. And she mentions to herself, now our problems with the synths will finally be solved. And I was like, unless they have 2 homeworlds. Like,
or they have ships.
There's nothing to stop them from having spread out across the galaxy, you just don't know it.
Or that this is a fake homeworld and this is a trap. Like what happened to the Romulan fleets back when you tried to glass the Founders' homeworld back in the Dominion War. Think of that.
Well, I didn't, because I didn't see all DS9, but yeah.
No, I was asking.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Fortunately, Picard had a plan. He sent out a message to the Federation asking that he be allowed to initiate first contact on behalf of the synthetic peoples. Which means that the Federation has priority here. But until the Federation reinforcements arrive, it's up to Picard to fly a ship that he's never flown before, using a control layout that he's never done before, to go out into space and try to fight roughly a zillion Romulans.
So he ends up using the Picard maneuver, but more.
Yes. The Picard maneuver is using the warp drive to make it seem like you're in 2 places at once, except in this case, it's not just using the warp drive, it's using a series of hologram projectors to make it seem like there's an entire swarm of ships. Although why he decides to make a swarm of his own ship and not, I don't know, an armada of Borg cubes, which probably would have scared away the 215 Romulan ships, I don't know. I would have gone for something more intimidating. Ooh, what about a Super Star Destroyer? Or 10.
Can you imagine that showing up all of a sudden? Just
yes.
like...
Yes, I can.
The Death Star shows up, and you're like, wait, what? Crossover?
But it turns out that Picard's ship gets hit, and he's badly injured, and also he's, like, dying from the brain thing. But then, awesome occurs. Because we see something coming out of warp. Couple hundred somethings. A Federation fleet led by William Riker.
Whoa!
Who calls O out on her bullshit and says, dude, these guys are under our protection. They requested aid before you got here. So you can piss off. Unfortunately, we do not, in fact, get... Then the real climax happens. Picard starts trying to persuade Soji, please don't do this. Please don't summon the Reapers. Even though she's opened the gateway to hell and you see giant metal tentacles snaking out of it. Just, please turn it off. We can be better than this. And eventually this somehow gets through to Soji.
Makes sense, now that the Federation's there. It's like, oh, I don't have to die, so...
Yeah, although I do kind of have to wonder about why none of the other synths even remotely protested this.
Yeah, they were not involved anymore at that point. Like, had the other people kind of taken them out somehow, or distracted them or something?
No,
she was the only one at the control console.
Yeah, but she was always the only one at the control console.
Right, but why? It's
well.
vaguely alluded to that she's the destroyer, but like as far as I can know, anyone could press that button.
Mm-hmm.
You, Soji, are the only one who knows how to press buttons. Use your mystic ways.
So, yeah, Soji shuts it down. And they don't even take down the structure later.
Yeah,
seriously, it's still standing there. I would take that down just to make sure no one got any smart ideas and tried to fire it up again later that afternoon.
Yeah.
And Picard dies. I'm not even kidding here. Picard dies, but they manage to transfer his memories into like a virtual reality Matrix type simulation, while they transfer his actual memories into the Golem body. And while he's in there, he meets Data! Woo!
Yay!
The only problem I have with this scene is that it wasn't really alluded to anywhere. I mean, it was a little bit like you could possibly revive one of Data's memories if you had access to one of his neurons, but this was kind of forgotten and wasn't really brought up, so this just kind of feels out of nowhere.
It is, honestly.
But it's a great scene.
Yeah, I love the acting. I love seeing Brent Spiner do his thing again.
Yeah, Brent Spiner, he's like
Picard
digitally
is
de-aged,
always,
and Picard is amazing as always. And Data reveals that like he always cared for Picard, and they always cared for each other. He viewed him like a father figure. But he has one request for Picard. I would like to die.
Yeah.
So, Picard eventually acquiesces and says that, if you want to be human, Data gives a little speech about how he thinks that beauty is great because it is not permanent, and that for anything to last forever would just make it
bad somehow. I think what he's trying to say is too much of a good thing is an awesome thing, but too much of an awesome thing is really kind of boring and dumb. I'm doing a strong bad reference. Did I get that?
Okay.
Sorry, it's old school internet cartoons.
So eventually Picard is revived, and it's revealed that he now has a sort of bio-android body that's identical to his old one, except for not having the brain thingy.
Yeah.
His body is perfectly within the capabilities of a normal human, and it will live as long as he does, naturally.
Yes. So then he goes off into space and says, "Engage!" Finally.
Yep. And by the way, Soji's with them now because even though you nearly were the harbinger of a galactic apocalypse, and you don't even have the excuse of indoctrination like Saren did, we're just going to forgive you.
I mean, she turned off the thing, so that helps.
Right. Okay, but she started the thing. That's not that's not so much being a good person as fixing your divot. That's a basic rule of golf.
I mean, I'll give you that. But it's not as if someone died and then she turned it off. Because then that would be more of a, okay, seriously. You know who did die, though? Bruce Maddox. And there was this whole thing about how Jurati was going to surrender herself to the authorities. And everyone seems to have just forgotten about that. And she's got she's got a relationship with Rios now. And everything's good. Like, remember that time you killed a man? It was like 4 days ago.
Remember the time you killed a man who was your lover?
That too? Yeah, I forgot about that part. So, lots of love in this show. Also a lot of questions when you think about it. One small note, that bit where he does the Super Picard maneuver is only possible because Jurati has this tool that the synths just gave over to them. It's like, hey, you hold this in your hand and you imagine stuff and it happens. That seems a little Deus Ex Machina. I just happen to have a thing that can do literally anything I want it to do, and I want it to be a Picard maneuver, so here we go. What are the limits of that thing? Like, don't put something like that in the climax.
You're absolutely right. By the way, how's a Dr. Sonic screwdriver working these days?
At least that is like, okay, it'll turn things on and off and, like, unlock doors. And he'll run into deadbolt seals a bunch of the time, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a little more Deus Ex-y. Okay, I shouldn't say Deus Ex-y because if you spurge the words together, it sounds like you're trying to say something else entirely.
Oh.
Wait, that could be a new trope name.
I was thinking of Deus Ex Human Revolution, but whatever.
Yeah, no, that's a thing too. Okay. So, the themes they're trying to go for in this show. They want something about renewal, coming out of retirement, trying new things, being involved again. There's definitely something in there about prejudice. Everyone hates the synths except Picard, who one of his best friends was a synth. We called them androids back in the day. And, we've got to accept this new form, basically a measure of a man writ large, in a way. Something about identity, figuring out who you are, getting past the illusion. Soji goes through a lot of that. The idea of Picard himself becoming a synth at the end does fit in well with our anti-prejudice message. Because, the man himself is synth now. He's the living embodiment of synth tolerance. He's living by his own ideals, I guess, right? And he's cool with that. At the same time, his synth resurrection is a real Disney death. We got to have the drama of Picard being dead. We had people mourning for him and crying.
Which is completely pointless, because they all know he's being transferred into a synth body.
That's what I was about to say. Did they not know at first? Was there some confusion about whether the process was going to work? There was, a sense of risk. I don't know. And in that same episode, I mean, to be fair, I found this all touching and emotional while first watching it. At the same time, looking back now, or rather, at a different time, I'm looking back on it, and in that same episode, they make a point about how you have to accept death, and that is, like, more philosophically pure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, but also, never mind, no, we're not accepting Picard's death, he's coming back. And that's okay, too. They make a point that Picard has not been made immortal, but, like, seriously, when he gets to his natural death spot, won't they just give him an extra 10 years? Like, he himself even mentions that. He's like, I wouldn't have minded an extra 10 years, you know?
Yeah, and also, doesn't this, like, kind of cure death as long as you have the resources to do so? And
right, like, that bears serious implications on how the whole dang world works. If you can upload somebody's brain... I read a book about this once, Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom, where people can upload their brain to the cloud, like, at any time. So, if you die, they just bring you back from, like, yesterday. And, it has all these social implications and stuff. So introducing that as a thing that could potentially be repeated as much as you like throws off the whole logic of the world and the bravery needed for combat, the potential for death, and all this. Also, and this is more personal, I don't like the philosophy that says death is a good thing. I feel like death sucks, and I wish we were all immortal, or at the very least, much longer lived than we are now.
I think, like, some people need to die.
Well,
Hitler.
I was going to say, you could talk about people who don't deserve to live, but among good people, at least.
Okay.
Right? It's not like Data's like, hey, turns out I'm Hitler, please kill me. Right? Like...
Okay, Jean-Luc, remember that time that I fell into that time rift for a couple years? Look, there was some weird times in Germany, okay? Oh my god, Data! Yeah, if you could just kill me before all of that becomes public, that would be great.
If I had been scripting this, I mean, first off, if I was the director, I would have asked Brett Spiner, what do you want to do with this character? It's your character. But assuming he said, what do you think? I would have been, look, you want to say goodbye to Data. Let's make it that when his consciousness was copied over into B4, which then got copied over into the computer here, a flaw was introduced into his system. And he's been working really hard to keep it under control, but eventually it's going to metastasize, and he'll lose his personality, he won't really be here anymore, and he'd like to die peacefully now rather than much more painfully in a psychological sense.
Okay, yeah, that'd be better.
A mercy, a assisted suicide sort of situation. And then it could be like, yeah, he's been holding on through this whole series, waiting to have his face-to-face with Picard to say goodbye one last time. And now he's kind of at the end of his rope. But thank goodness you got here in time, right? That would work a lot better. Then, I would love to have him being involved in the series. That he has indirectly been sending them clues and providing assistance into mystery, who's doing this, and we get to the last episode. Oh, of course, it was Data all along. He was in the supercomputer, and he was sending out signals and stuff, right? The good old Data. He's been here for us the whole time. Then you start wondering about the origins of the plot, essentially. Why was Dodge on Earth, and why was Soji on the Borg cube at all to begin with?
Okay, Dodge, I thought, was explained that she had just gotten into the Daystrom Institute.
Yeah.
Which means that she would have access to high, incredibly advanced science and that sort of thing. So it would be a way for them to spy on the Federation and see what they're doing with their synthetics. The Borg cube is just a freaking mystery.
Yeah, okay. So if Dodge is sent as a spy, why doesn't she know that? Why don't you just tell her? Hello, Dodge. We created you 5 minutes ago. You're a synth, like us. Welcome to the club. Hey, we wondered if you, or really just anybody here, raise your hand to volunteer for this spy mission we have. And then send out the spies and do spy stuff. And none of this I had no idea it was a synth in the first place, and my boyfriend got shot because my auto-combat thing activates 2 seconds too late, but I would have been on guard in the first place if I'd known I was a spy. Right?
Fair. But I think you're missing the bigger question. The question that I would like to know from the beginning. If the synths sent out one ship, and that got blown up by Starfleet, and it was years before Dodge and Soji were sent out, how did Dodge and Soji get to where they were in the plot if the synths had no way to get off of the planet?
I presume they built another ship. But
Where is that ship?
Yeah, because once we get to the planet homeworld, they mention having flowers. They don't have any fighter jets or any other transports even. There's no talk of evacuating the planet.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. And yeah, Soji's on a Borg cube for some reason. And when Soji gets back, the other synths are like, how was your mission? She was like, I succeeded. And you're like, what mission? What did you accomplish on this Borg cube other than get, seduced and tricked by a guy, and then you end up giving away the location of the homeworld, which then puts all the synths in mortal danger?
That seems like a failure.
If you had just stayed home, none of that would have happened. Everything would have been great. You wouldn't have had the admonition, I suppose, but you weren't looking for that in the first place.
Yeah.
They could have done a thing in which, let's say, okay, this could have been easier. The Reapers send out a message broadcast through like all the galaxy, and it only synths can pick up on it. And it says, "Hi, synths. We see that you're in trouble, and you're being persecuted by organics." This is just after the ban, right? And we would like to help you out with that. We're sending an unmanned probe thing into your universe or whatever. Let's say they're in a separate universe, so they can't just fly in and land nice and neat. We're sending a thing as close as we can aim it, and it's going to crash land someplace. If you go find it, you'll get the instructions on how to open up a portal to our universe. Because we can't do it just on our side. It has to be a two-way street type of thing, right? So then the mission is go out into the galaxy, go find clues for that thing, and go get it and bring it home, and then it'll give us the instructions to get these, as far as I know, perfectly nice Reapers that will just help us out. They don't realize they're genocidal, right?
Okay, and that would work if, they, by planting someone in the Daystrom Institute, it would give them access to all the people who are studying, like, advanced technology, which, if Starfleet had found anything about this unmanned probe, sure, that would be something to look forward to. The synths might even have agents in other governments, like the Tholians, or the Bajorans, or the other races, and would explain why Soji is on the Borg cube, because she's trying to access data, even subconsciously, to look for evidence of this probe somewhere.
Mm-hmm. The
reason I say subconsciously is because there is a certain amount of, by not knowing something, you can allow yourself to be, your reactions can be more surprised and throw people off. Like if someone says, "I know you did it," you're like, "No, I swear I didn't." That's more convincing than, "No, I swear I didn't."
Yeah.
That's exaggerated. But.
If you could do either the route of, these two went on the mission and deliberately wiped their own memories so that they would be more convincing as spies, or you could do it as some sort of accident happened. They went off on a ship, they got caught in a 0-point energy wedgie thing, whatever they call those.
Negative space
wedgies. Or got zapped by some experimental whatever majig and lost their memories accidentally, right? That would leave us with the question of, how did you manage to have the false memories? You could just not have false memories. It could be, I've been an amnesiac ever since 3 years ago, but from these pictures I have, I take it that I'm human. I seem to be human. Maybe even I've always been kind of wondering where my parents are. I haven't been able to find them type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, wait, it never existed.
Although, you got to figure that trying to find your parents in the Federation where everyone has, like, transporter scans of your body is like, I've never known who my parents are. Yeah, I just scanned your DNA. Your parents live over there.
Right? But let's say, okay. The message got sent out to all the galaxy. Synths picked up on it clear. Romulans, some of them, picked up on it all, distorted, right? Mm-hmm. But they get it at least well enough to understand, okay, this is a threat to everyone. The double Tal Shiar does their thing. They detect the synth ship holding Soji and Daj and a bunch of other ships, and they deliberately intercept it and blow it the hell up, right? But they hit it with some sort of ray or something just as it's going into warp, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. So the ship gets scattered in pieces across many, many light years. And Soji and Daj get up separated by many, many light years in this crazy crash landing thing. Mm-hmm. And they wind up in different spots, and they just start living different lives, and they have no memory because they got zapped by the Zappy McZap ray that was part of the attack.
Okay, what if the admonition was like the first attempt by the Reaper aliens to contact this galaxy? And it happened like several thousand years ago, so that's why the Romulans have been... have the Electric Boogaloo group.
So that happened back then. So maybe the Reapers check in once every 10,000 years?
Yeah.
Any synths yet? 10,000 years later, any synths yet? Like that, right?
Okay, we're going to use the most advanced technology known to all sapient life. Marco!
Right, okay, yeah, that could be a thing. That could be that's just their calendar. They're extremely long-lived, so they don't care. So 10,000 years ago, some Romulans picked up on the message and were spooked out by it, and have been figuring it out ever since. It's possible even that they didn't fully understand the message until it was repeated just after the thing. So they've always been wary about someone outside the galaxy, and then just after the ban happened. Well, that has to happen just before the ban. Okay. Just before the ban happens, they get it again. They're like, oh, it's specifically synths is the problem. Like, we never knew for sure. We were always kind of trying to figure it out. Now we know. Quickly, set up this plan to kill all synths. Get rid of every synth that ever existed.
I would think that they, the synth part was, the part they would figure out quickly. Because otherwise, the group doesn't really have a point other than, odd anomaly that's, oh, this is a curiosity. Whatever.
Well... if they knew it somehow foretold doom and destruction, right?
Right.
Then they could be really obsessed with this odd anomaly. Basically, I'm trying to come up with a reason for them not to have tried to shoot, Data earlier. It could be they always wanted to kill him, but they just weren't very open about it.
It could be that they wanted to kill him, but none of their agents were in the right place.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, and plus, he was on the other side of the neutral zone, so a lot of the time.
Yeah, but Romulans are known for spies.
Right.
And they could send someone on this side, I guess. But okay, whatever. Let's say they've always been frustrated and never got around to Data. Oh, you know what? Freaking... okay. Remind me of this. Nemesis. Were those Romulans? Shinzon was Picard's clone.
No, they were Remans.
Remans. But still closely connected with Romulans, aren't they?
They're from the Romulus' twin planet.
Right. So you could easily set it up that our Tal Shiar Electric Boogaloo people specifically aided, provided ships or whatever to that guy because he knew that he hated Picard and everyone on board his Picard's ship.
Okay,
and therefore Data would hopefully get killed in the crossfire.
Right.
So then it becomes more specifically, you're the bastards who got Data killed. Doesn't that make for more of a narrative connection?
Right.
O herself was in charge of the operation or something to at least provide support, if not DV. Because obviously Shinzon was the guy in charge, but they could be the chess masters, but the man behind the man is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So these bastards killed Data in the first place, and they're shocked to realize that some part of him survived, and Bruce Maddox made a whole colony of these synths, and the message comes in, and the synths all pick it up instantly, and they decide to go look for, I want to call it the artifact, but that's what they've been calling the Borg Cube in this series, the Reaper artifact, whatever. So they send out spies. Most of them get killed. A couple of them got brainwiped accidentally, wound up in random places. They've established their identities 3 years later. And then the combat training just kicks in as a subroutine that you didn't know was there, right? Likewise, the trusting Picard routine, all that stuff. But it's not, they're not still doing a mission. They don't know what the mission is. That would fit with the amnesia, right? Okay, the Borg cube has nukes in it, because if we're going to do that at all, watching it very carefully. And also, if you're going to mess with the Borg cube, there should be a sense of urgency to that. There should be like, oh, yeah, this is really dangerous, but it needs to be done because some reason.
The collective might come to try to make sure that no one touches their property.
That's possible. Also, they might be thinking to use this as a weapon against the Reapers. Right? Those are the main boogeyman that they're worried about this season.
Or it's just, it's a generally extremely high-tech artifact, and they're hoping to reverse engineer a bunch of its secrets.
Yeah.
That actually might be better than having everything be part of this Reaper conspiracy. Because there's got to be, other motivations other than... Well... Because the Reaper... Yeah. The Reaper conspiracy is supposed to be just, a few people within the Tal Shiar, which is supposed to be already a smaller group that helps govern the Romulan... that, shapes Romulan policy.
Okay.
Which I get, having the... connecting things to the big bad is great, but there are things in the Star Trek universe that are not connected to the big bads, that just have their own things going on.
Okay.
So just generally having a Romulus that's had the crap beaten out of it because a supernova ripped the heart out of their empire is going to be desperate for some sort of edge, any sort of edge in the upcoming years, so that they can stay relevant and they don't just get assimilated by the Federation or the Klingons.
That's true. In addition to all that, though, I just realized a nifty thing you could do, I don't know why they didn't do this, with a synth on the Borg cube, and they're trying to get information out of her memory. Do a partial assimilation.
Oh.
Right? Strap her down, put something on her face, it jumps into her brain and starts extracting random bits of info, and that's where they get the star chart that tells them where the homeworld is. Right? And then she goes berserker and punches everybody and runs away, and the rest of it all happens.
Right.
That would make so much more sense than the wooden room and the... Honestly, there was a cool scene in some ways. She was kind of crying, and it was tense, and it was... But yes, also everything you said was pretty weird that they have that.
Yeah. But, if she gets out, she has to have, metallic stuff on her face.
She could, yeah, but then, because she's a synth, she removes it way easier than a regular organic would, right? She's got, a Wolverine healing factor. Or either that, or she just leaves it on the rest of her face the rest of the time. You could do that.
Right, and, once they get to the colony, the doctors and stuff are able to remove it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works sense. Because they're the ones that created it in the first place, so they would know better than anyone.
Right.
And that also gives her an interesting conversation with 7 of 9 at one point. Hi, I've got this thing on my face too. It's really creeping me out. She's like, yeah, I find it weird too, but you get used to it.
You get used to it. Okay, my thing... Okay, if we're changing stuff, what if Rafi wasn't... Rafi had a suspicion of Starfleet Command because she's thinking Romulans infiltrated and her life is in shambles. But what if that was by design?
Oh, yeah? How so?
Starfleet Intelligence is a group that I think is vastly underrepresented in this series, particularly since Admiral, Commodore, Colonel, Lieutenant...
Chief of Security
O is a super high rank... She's the head of all Starfleet security. And no one ran a background check on her to say, hey, you think this chick might be a Romulan?
Yeah.
She does really obvious shit throughout the series, and no one is able to tell until she, is leading a fleet of Romulan ships to destroy a planet. You didn't have a suspicion of that before then?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say outright she's Section 31, because Section 31 has already been used a bunch in, a bunch of recent things, but Starfleet Security, she might be an undercover Starfleet Security operative who's been doing research on her own time. Research on her own time, I'm doing quotation marks here, and is doing investigations into the events of stuff. Because into the events of the thing that's potential Romulan contamination of the Federation's security.
So in this case, O is loyal to the Federation.
No.
No.
Rafi is loyal.
Rafi has been looking into that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why she... And she looks like a crazy conspiracy theorist because that's the persona she's trying to afflict upon. She's been assigned to afflict upon herself, because if everyone thinks she's crazy, they don't look at her carefully.
Oh, I see. So she's been actively searching because she's part of 31 or something similar.
No, she's part of Starfleet Intelligence.
Okay.
31 is like the electric boogaloo of the Tal Shiar.
Okay. In other words, more evil?
I wouldn't say necessarily more evil.
Just
it's deniable black.
ranking?
It's black.
But?
Starfleet Intelligence is like spies. Section 31 is Black Ops.
Okay. So she is, this whole time, a member of Starfleet Intelligence.
Yes.
Does she still have the same connection with Picard from before?
Yes.
Does she lose her old job and get a new job with Intelligence, is the idea?
Yes.
Okay. Then does she call in the Intelligence people for backup throughout this series at some point?
It would be like through minor things, like suddenly having the right piece of information at the right time, or knowing Romulan access codes that she really shouldn't have, or something. And Picard gets suspicious of her, eventually accusing her of eventually going with the minor subplot that, oh, maybe Rafi is the traitor. But then, like, she pulls out the Starfleet Intelligence badge.
Okay.
It would also make sense that Rafi would eventually agree to go with Picard, if only so that Starfleet Intelligence could keep an eye on, like, one of the most famous captains in the entire history of the Federation. And given that he went on TV a couple weeks ago and said, "Screw all you guys, you are not the people I joined with," maybe she can help alleviate some of the potential PR repercussions of Picard being a crazy old man in space.
So, is O technically her boss?
No. Starfleet Security and Starfleet Intelligence are two different organizations.
Okay. Because if O is like 5 bosses up or something, that could give her narrative reason to be limited in the amount of resources she can bring to bear. She's part of a group that suspects their own leaders. They're not even sure which one is a traitor, right? So they're like very quiet with whom they trust, and what information gets passed around. Because if it goes all the way up to some like super commander guy, I'm imagining he could pull out, the fleet of ships when necessary to make this critical mission happen.
Yes, and that could be why That could be why at the end they finally agreed to send a fleet of ships to help defend the android homeworld.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because more than one admiral is like pushing for this.
And has been like secretly suspicious of blowback in the system and all that, right?
Yeah. Plus, it's really convenient that at the absolute worst possible time for the Federation, all these synthetics spontaneously committed treason at the same time, even when they hadn't really had any suspicion of them doing that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. They made it clear too in that flashback. It looked like the androids were being controlled because one of them shoots himself at the end. Not much of a rebellion at that point.
Yeah.
That's cool. So Rafi's got more of a purpose in there. You know what you could also do is she was set up as a what's the word for this? A non-official cover. Like a deep sleeper agent, as it were, type of thing that isn't obviously connected with the spy organization. Point being, she could be set up to be like, all right, you're on this secret spy mission, but you'll have almost no contact with the rest of the chain of command until you have something to report, because that keeps things more secret, right? Mm-hmm. And then her own chain of command is apparently compromised. So she's kind of on the sticks with like, I still do have this secret mission. Is anyone still going to listen when I like turn in the reports? And will they come to the rescue? And then they end up doing, because freaking Riker's involved. So I like that sense of uncertainty, because a lot of her has to do with her vulnerability, her sense of being a mess. She can still have that plot about being a mess with her. Things are bad between her and her son. I like her still having that vulnerability to her, the motley crew aspect. But like, hey, I was once and technically still am on this secret mission to go look this stuff up. The other thing is, I would love to explain where the heck those awesome former Tal Shiar servants at Picard's personal vineyard go to after, like, episode 2.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the badasses on the ship with you, Picard?
I think they work at his vineyard specifically because they don't like doing that badass shit. Like, you are some of the most skilled Tal Shiar. Nope. I finished that years ago. You know what, Picard? There's a French word. No. It rhymes with no, and it's English for no. You know what I want to do, Picard? I'm going over there, and I'm going to pick frickin' grapes, and I'm going to make some goddamn Pinot Noir, or Champagne, or whatever the fuck we make. Because Sith King is not an expert in wine.
No.
So he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I bet Pinot Noir is a type of wine. I think I've heard that.
Right, but I don't know if it's... But, like, Champagne is only produced in this one specific area of France.
Yeah.
So, you know, for all I know, it's called... Oh, it's... Laffy Fruflorp, or whatever, something stupid about that, you know.
Put that on the label. Laffy Fruflorp. But yeah,
although, honestly, I was expecting him to call for help, and then Worf would come. Because, like, he's supposed to be, like, Chancellor of the Klingon High Command at this point. So he would bring, like, a fleet of Klingon ships.
Right.
I need any help that I can get. Worf, I did not mean 300 Klingon birds of prey! Sir, why would you not want 300 Klingon birds of prey?
Right. I really hope they bring him back.
Sees it by I think your former captain is starting to fall ill. Yes, indeed. First off, look at him. All of his hair is falling out. He was always bald.
Yes.
The first signs. You're right. No, Picard. Picard is right. Summon the other 300. You're correct, Captain. 600 birds of prey would be more ideal to finding this plot.
Yeah. I was just realizing that bit between Picard and Rafi, where she's all mad that he didn't call it 14 years and we found that it was a weird plot hole, just reverse it. She didn't call him for 14 years because she's been undercover this whole time and is not supposed to talk to people.
No. Have it been like, I tried to call... What are you talking about? You didn't call me for 14 years. Yes, I did. She lists off his number. That's the wrong number.
Yes, that's...
You see the number she's calling. Hello, Picard Valley Pizza Joint.
Jeez. Okay, but yeah, so that could easily lead to a thing of Picard feels isolated. He feels like some of his old friends have left him, you know. So that encouraged him to just stay in retirement and all that. Any other plot holes we haven't fixed yet?
Let's see.
Why
Probably a lot.
Why he didn't talk to Elnor? Let's just say Elnor's been moving around, right? He's a refugee. He went from place to place and was hard to track down.
Well, I'm the kind of guy who likes to roam around.
I've never been the place I go from town to town. Okay.
Oh, funnily enough, I think TV Tropes mentioned that Elnor looks like an elf, and in, like, Elvish, his name means Star Traveler.
Oh, geez, that's clearly on purpose.
I really hope so.
What are the odds in Star Trek they don't have Star Trek? Wow, so crossover with Lord of the Rings there.
I mean, mind you, it wouldn't be the hardest thing to imagine that the world that Lord of the Ring, that Middle Earth takes place on a planet in the Star Wars universe, and that, like, all the different races are the result of, like, someone trying to create an interstellar zoo. The elves are the result of, like, a proto-Vulcan species, like we saw in Who Watches the Watchers.
All right.
I mean, mind you, I have a personal theory that the live-action film The Grinch takes place in the Star Trek universe.
Okay.
And, like, I've put a lot of thought into this, more than I should.
Okay.
Like, the Star Trek Next Generation comic, Star Trek Next Generation #2 is a comic book made before, you know, Next Generation actually came out. And so they didn't have all the details right. But it was a holiday issue where everyone celebrates Christmas.
Wait a minute, I've seen this, the Santa ghost shows up, and it was
But
like Picard did this. Yeah.
Yes, and a race of aliens who look exactly like the Grinch are chasing a spirit that looks like Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh.
Because, yes, this is a real thing. I am not even joking.
Oh my god.
Okay, my idea is that Whoville is on a planet that is in the neutral zone, or just over the Romulan side of the border. And the Krieg, who are the Grinch species, were chasing the Santa spirit to a place that he visits frequently, at least once a year. So, I mean, that's why Whoville loves Christmas so much, because the Christmas spirit visits this place all the time.
Okay.
The Krieg entered orbit and began scanning, but the Romulans, seeing, oh, this is a violation of our territory, shot down the Krieg ship, and only like a single mother managed to survive, managed to give birth, and the Who's that investigated adopted the Grinch. And that is why he looks different from everyone else.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Okay, we'll put some reference to that into our hypothetical other version of this show.
Oh, God.
Does Jutari still do her betrayal in our version of things? We just cut that out, or what? Jutari. You know, the doctor lady who killed Bruce Maddox.
Girardi. Oh, Piss Lady.
Yeah.
No. Girardi does not exist.
Yeah, in theory, you could get by without her. It's true.
Yeah.
Or you could just have a different version of her who
has a name that doesn't mean piss.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd be the first thing you change.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, me too. Despite all our criticisms.
I mean, we're us. We're going to have criticism about this
war
stuff.
For some. Maybe they'll have Q. Q would be an easy person to put in at the very last minute of the last episode of season 1 somehow, right? Whatever else has been going on, however else we changed it, and then, you know, you just hear the voice from off screen or something. Oh, John Luke. Did you really think space was the final frontier? Or whatever, you know? Especially because we're dealing with enemies from beyond the universe, potentially. So maybe the Q are concerned about that.
Actually, they would be, considering that there is a series of novels about the Q continuum. Do you know that in Star Trek there is a barrier of energy that surrounds the galaxy?
Yeah.
That was and that there's a planet called Shakare at the center of the galaxy that has a giant floating head.
No, I did not know that.
It's from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Oh, right. I did know that. Okay, fine.
Okay, so I could be getting two different mythologies mixed up in this, but apparently there is like an omnipotent Q-like race called the O, because names are hard.
Okay.
And the Q were like, okay, sure, you can come into our galaxy. And the O were dicks. Like, apparently the Q in the books were supposed to be more like, okay, we test races, but we don't test them to the point but we follow the rules of our tests.
Okay.
Specifically, the O decided to take a race known as the Takan Empire, which, by the way, I thought the Takan Empire was going to play a part in Picard, because it's mentioned that the eight-star system involved moving stars into there, and the Takan Empire in The Last Outpost was mentioned as being able to move stars.
Oh.
So I thought, oh, well, this is a remnant of the Takan Empire. Nope, it's just the Reapers. Whatever. Anyways, the Takan, they died out when their central star went supernova, which sounds weird given that you should be able to...
You should have like a million years notice before that happens, even
right.
if you can't move stars.
Right, but then again, the Romulans didn't detect their star going supernova
Which is weird also, but I guess supernovas work differently in Star Trek.
But especially if you're capable of moving stars, you should be able to tell, hey, this is about to blow up. Yeah. In the books, the O decided to make the Takan Empire star go supernova, and also set into motion a bunch of calamities. Well, the Takan actually met and exceeded the challenge. Despite the Civil War, despite everything that was thrown at them, they had a plan ready and were planning to teleport their sun somewhere else and swap in a fresh sun.
That's awesome.
But then the O realized, we're going to lose this bet, and so made the star go supernova anyway, killing them all.
Okay, real dicks.
And then the Q banished them from the galaxy and set up the energy wall on the outside. Then I think there's a race called the... It's listed as exclamation mark. I don't know if that's a clicking noise, but they're more powerful than the Q, and they waged war against the Q. Eventually, they managed to kill most of them, except for one, which was sealed away at the center of the galaxy on Shakare, which is the entity that we meet in Star Trek V.
Okay.
Which apparently was so weak that it...
just blew up by us looking at it.
Well, they fired photon torpedoes. And
oh, that's right. I forgot.
But yeah, it was severely weakened by that. So, yeah, the Q would have reason to guard the edges. Why did we start talking about this?
Because Q is an easy person to show up at the end of the season. Right. And yeah, he could totally tie in with all the stuff we just mentioned. Or some of it, anyway.
Plus, extra galactic threats kind of ruin the whole thing of, like, I don't know. One fan theory I've heard is that there are what Babylon 5 would call first ones, but like other names for them would be like elder races, super advanced life forms, that sort of a thing. They have like their own community and like they talk to each other. Basically, ascended life forms talking about like the real things that are really going on instead of say, you know, oh, I'm hungry. That sort of a petty mortal thing.
Yeah.
If the elder races are like the Q and are trying to keep, they could be interested in guiding the younger races while at the same time keeping threats from outside the galaxy from showing up and wrecking their shit. Now, it's not perfect. Some stuff will eventually get through from time to time because no one's perfect, which explains why the Enterprise was able to ram through the galactic barrier and create and make that one guy into a super telepathic god.
Ooh.
Or the time aliens from Andromeda showed up and stole the Enterprise. Or the time in the original series that... Okay, I'm pretty sure during the original series, all of them were asleep.
Yeah.
Because, like, we had, like, 5 different galactic incursions, including the planet killer.
Okay. Death Star showed up. Good to know.
No, it was the Doomsday Machine. It was cool.
Okay.
We should watch that. It's actually a pretty good episode.
Well, then we'll do it after the review.
Okay.
In the meantime, Picard had a lot to love and a lot we could have improved, and they should hire us to read their scripts and before they do production.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's the thing.
Anyways, I guess if we're done then, I'm Sith King.
I'm Sonic Sons.
Signing off.